Welcome. I'm very excited that you all are here. My name's Andrea Farnham. I am running for County Commissioner in District 8. And part of the, mission of my campaign is to extend political and economic power to groups that have been historically locked out. And one of the mostly locked out groups happen to be black men that we over-criminalize the most and over-pathologize. And so I've invited some of my buddies, new and old friends, to come talk to us a little bit about that. Tonight is also sponsored by the Athens Area Democratic Socialists of America, AADSA. So in a little bit, we'll hear from Philip about that group, but we're just going to jump right in. So welcome. Thank you very much for being here. And just tell the audience your name and one thing that is surprising about being in jail or having been in jail. One thing people don't tell you, one thing that's surprising.
My name is Nakima Stovall. Well, first of all, how you all doing? Nice to be here. Very delighted to be here to be in your presence. But my name is Nakima Stovall, and one thing they don't tell you in jail is that the sheriffs, the guards, sheriffs, whoever, they will beat you and throw you in the hole and won't care nothing about you.
And my name is Osei-Frimpong, and last time I was in jail, one thing they don't tell you, people are just regular people, especially if it's just black guys. Like, it's just the everyday black guys. It's regular people. You think, oh, these are hardened criminals, these are bad guys. No, it's just regular black guys. And it's almost impossible to study prison culture just because of the way academia is organized, because you need consent forms. So all of these rules that were put in place to protect the innocent or the privacy of the prisoners end up making it the case that it's impossible to study what prisoners go through. And so you have to watch out for these rules that are supposed to protect us, but really protect them from us talking about them and to them. So I'm grateful for having this. Also, they take your glasses, and that's just cruel, because I can't see.
Hello, everyone. I am Torrance Wiltshire. A lot of people know me as Squale. I'm a local hip-hop artist in Athens and also a community activist. And one thing that I discovered in my experience is that you are literally treated like an animal. Sometimes even worse than an animal. Yeah.
It's work.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, it works.
Oh, okay. My name is Terrence Patman. Everybody call me TP. I work. You can hear me?
You have to speak louder.
Oh yeah, my name is Terrence Patman. Everybody call me TP for back there in the back. One thing they don't tell you about, I'm gonna say prison, that okay, you're gonna be in prison with about 800 inmates. They're gonna be 1 or 2 guards watching you, and she might be 19 or 20, might be a female. So that's one thing that I learned about prison. I mean, you think you're gonna go to jail and do your time, come back home, but when you get to prison, I mean, you're gonna be around about 500-600 men. They got more time than you, and there's gonna be 1 guard to watch y'all. So just imagine that. So I mean, just like some people think going to jail or going to prison going, I guess, make you come out a better person, but depending on your mind frame, you might come out worse because the stuff you have to do to survive in there.
Mm-hmm. One thing, or one of the primary reasons for me, at least, for wanting to invite you all to this panel is that there's an aspect of black male vulnerability that gets erased when we talk about victims of things. That black male victimhood is, so if I do something crazy or I do something bad, the first question is well, what happened to her that she's doing this thing? They look for the context. They look for well, what happened to her? Well, maybe she was abused or something bad happened to her. That's why she did this thing. But for black men, you're immediately dangerous, immediately a problem, all these stereotypes, black male rapist, super predator, all of these sort of, immediate I mean, for lack of a better word, just pathologized and criminalized. And so I'm curious, when you first experienced, like, oh, people think I'm dangerous, like, oh, people think that I'm whatever, fill it in. That, like, how old were you? What were those first, like, oh, wait a minute, everywhere I go, people think I'm a problem, or there's something wrong with me, or like yeah.
It's very simple. So I grew up in a broken home. Mom was in prison. When I went to prison when I was 5 years old, I went to stay with my grandmom. I didn't know who my daddy was. My grandmama was, 60-something years old. I got in trouble. I did stuff. I didn't feel loved. I thought didn't nobody care nothing about me. I acted out. Or I did what the other children did, or whatever, followed the crowd or whatnot. Did little petty stuff, got in trouble. First time went to juvenile, I was 14 years old. No, about 12, 13, something like that. Still young. Judge McDonald, calling names, because I'm definitely calling names. Oh, yeah.
You know, he still has kids around.
Judge McDonald labeled me a menace to myself, not to society. He labeled me a menace to myself. I'm confused. I don't know what to think now. I'm not a killer. I'm not that dangerous. Frail. Really ain't that tough problem. You know? But yeah, 14 years old in YDC, down at downtown courthouse, just stuck. And, you know, I lived with that title for a long time as well. So
I was about 12. I just moved from the middle of Los Angeles, pretty much an all-black neighborhood in Los Angeles, to the suburbs in Orange County, which is just a little bit south of Los Angeles. And it was a predominantly white suburb. And I was probably about 12 years old when I moved, and I remember thinking, I wonder if I'm a rapist. Like, it was an open question. I mean, people start, and when you think about it, it doesn't make that much, it's not that hard to imagine, because that's about the time we start telling girls to be careful because they could be victims. But that's also the time you start sending messages to guys about when they're perpetrators, and everyone's kind of treating me like I'm a perpetrator. Now, remember, I'm 12 years old. I'd never actually kissed a girl, but like, I liked girls. So, and everyone's kind of treating me like a criminal, and everyone's kind of treating me like, you know, I'm dangerous. So maybe I am dangerous. I don't know. It's kind of an open question. Luckily, I'm sufficiently non-malleable that, like, you know, I didn't do what society needs me to do. But there's a way in which, if we're going to tell all these people that they're potential victims and almost already victims, you're also sending the message, and I don't think I'm the only one who's gotten that message, that society expects you to be a perpetrator and really doesn't have a place for you not to be a perpetrator. So, got to think about that. I mean, there are studies that say we criminalize black males from like preschool. Like, the disciplinary rates are from preschool on. So, you know, society has a place for you, and there's an economy built on that place. Because if I don't go to jail, you know, bail bondsmen lose their jobs, generational cops lose their jobs, DAs lose their, like, a lot of people depend on me being the kind of person who goes to a kind of place. So, yeah, there's that. So when did you realize that you were a problem?
Since I could remember. But I had an experience back in college, back in 2012. I was going to Alabama State off of a full ride basketball scholarship. One day, me and my friends, we go to the movies, and there's 4 white guys behind us, and they're screaming the N-word out the whole time during the movie. So after the movie was over, we're outside, and they're still talking and screaming and stuff. So I turn around, and I addressed it. Basically, it ensued into a fight where I fight these guys. One of the guys had a knife that fell out of his pocket. I picked the knife up and popped it open. And in my action of popping it open, he was trying to grab me, and it poked him. but I was labeled as someone who was malicious enough to stab someone. In court, they went back all the way to 9th grade, literally 13, 14 years old, where I was going through a lot. My mom was on drugs. My pops wasn't around. He was just killed, so I was mentally just not in a good place. And the beginning of high school, I got in a couple fights, and I was suspended and expelled from Clark Central. They went all the way back to that to prove that I was a dangerous person, just to convict me. I ended up serving 8 months in jail for assault and battery when literally all I did was just flick my wrist. I didn't walk up to him and poke him. I didn't provoke him. I didn't start with them. But the way it got twisted in court was that I was naturally an angry person. So that was my first experience with that to that high degree.
First, I want to speak on what he just said about stuff he did a long time ago. Because I'd have been to court a bunch of times. I mean, thank God I changed my life and for growth. But I think it's wrong when you go to court for something and then they try to bring up what you did in the past. I mean, what's the purpose of you going to jail or prison and serve your time for something that you get in trouble 4 or 5 years later and they bring up the old stuff and convict you? I think that's like double jeopardy. I don't think that's right. But the first time they made me feel like there's something, I guess people thought that I was a bad person. This happened back in 2008. I got pulled over by Athens Clark County Police, and so my friend, I was driving his car. My friend, had drugs in the car, so I didn't want to go to jail, especially for something that wasn't mine. So I did the wrong thing by pulling off, took the police on a high-speed chase. So like 30 minutes later, I get a call from my mom saying, "You on the news?" And so they had me on Channel 5 News, Channel 2 News, the Athens, I think it was Channel 8, the Athens station, but they saying I drugged the police with the car, say the police holding on to the car, which was a bull-faced lie. And so I stayed on the run for like 6 months because I was trying to get my money up to, get a lawyer. I wasn't going to turn myself in for something like that because, they had me as the Athens Most Wanted, had me in the newspaper. And so when I finally ended up getting arrested like 6 months later, my mom had got a lawyer for me, and so the parking lot where it happened at on Oconee Street, so happened the manager was there. He seen the whole thing, and he talked to my lawyer and said he would come to court and testify, saying that he didn't see the police. Like when I pulled off, the police ran back to the car, that he wasn't holding on to the car, so they dropped the charges. But by me being on probation, I still went to prison for it. And so this where things get even more crazier. Okay, February 2009, I went to court. They gave me 4 years and 4 months in prison. Like they took my probation. I had 4 years left. So the clerk of court sent the paperwork to Atlanta that says 4 months. She forgot to send the paper that says 4 years. So from February to June, they counted, I guess, 4 months, whatever. I sat in Jackson prison for like 3 weeks. They called my name, told me to put my little jumpsuit on. I'm going home. I'm like, going home? I'm like, what camp I'm going? What county I'm going to? What county camp? So I ended up going to the bus station in Atlanta. They let me out of prison because she forgot to send the paper. So I stayed out of prison for like 4 weeks, and then a sheriff came to my house and had a warrant saying you violate probation. You're not supposed, we got a warrant. Like a warrant. I just got out of prison. I haven't gotten in trouble. And so when I went to court, downtown, the court, to bond here, and they told me what happened, saying, well, she forgot to send up, they let you out of prison by accident. So I told the judge, well, I haven't gotten in trouble. Can you just put me back on probation or something? So I ended up going back to prison for 16 more months. So as of right now, I'm a welder. I work at Caterpillar. I haven't been in trouble since then, so that's a good thing. But I'm on probation up under the Recipients Act. Judge Sweat, David Sweat, I think he's a federal judge now, but he sentenced me up under the Recipients Act. So if I get in trouble, go to court, they give me 10 years. There's no parole. I do the whole 10 years. So I just changed my life around. Just weighed my options out. It's not worth it. I feel like in Athens, black men get more time. I see there's a lot of white people in here. So I got a lot of white friends. I'm not racist whatsoever, but in the court systems in Athens, I've seen a lot of people with similar charges, different colors, and it seems like the black men get more time than the white men. You know what I'm saying? So that's another reason why I stopped getting in trouble. I mean, I hang in a lot of places like, Section 8, low income places. It's a lot of drug activities, but they were my friends there. I mean, I don't sell drugs. I mean, just because they sell drugs don't mean I can't hang in that area. I got family stay in certain areas, but you have a lot of police activity. Police ride through. Like, you can't stand on the sidewalk. I mean, they come through, ask for your identifications, turn the music down, or if you're sitting on the porch, they say if people are drinking beer, I mean, asking for your ID. But I got a lot of friends that stay in, like, other neighborhood, like, mostly white. You ride through there, I mean, they're having beer pongs outside in their driveway, cars, loud music all the time of night.
19-year-olds.
I mean, the police don't say nothing, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I feel like there's a lot of discrimination in Athens, Clark County, you know what I'm saying? Especially the downtown area. I mean, I'm born and raised here. I'm 38 years old. Been living here all my life. But a college kid, 19, 21 years old, just moved here for the summer or whatever, they'll get treated better than me downtown. I mean,
Facts.
I'm the native.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I barely go downtown. I can't even tell you the last time I went downtown. Probably when, I guess, 5 guys was down there. I mean, and they was just like on the night, I guess, the Georgia game or whatever. But I rarely go downtown because you get treated different by color. And I guess if you're non-student, you get treated different.
One of the things that for me is interesting is that anywhere in Athens that black men go, they're in danger of somebody lying about them, somebody accusing them of something, somebody, just saying they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. They look like somebody that did something, and that the vulnerability of the fact that anytime you go downtown, you're pretty much in danger of some like white lady accusing you of something, somebody saying you're doing something wrong, and that when you're victimized, like nobody cares. That when you experience like somebody making up something about you or somebody accusing you of something, there's this like inability to believe that black men are victims of things or take their victimization into account. So when we look at like the statistics in terms of black men lead in like all areas of state-sanctioned violence, black men are the targets. So criminalization, so in terms of incarceration rates, black men are ridiculously overrepresented. Homelessness rates, so housing discrimination in terms of being able to get home loans and actually be in like stable housing. Over-disciplined in schools, I mean, this is stuff that you all know. Educational discrimination, so underrepresented in higher education, in faculty positions, and employment discrimination. So highest rates of unemployment, and then on job like discrimination.
We don't live too long either.
No, and health outcomes. So in every major category of discrimination, black men are like leading. And yet we have this myth that women are the ones that are discriminated against, and the primary targets of discrimination. When there's sort of this like white male, white female, black male, for lack of a better word, continuum, in which like black men are at the bottom of all the things. And yet we have a very hard time being okay with centering like their victimization. So I guess that was a long, but I wanted to sort of contextualize the question of when you're the victim of something, what is the response from institutions, friends and family, community, society, that when you're the one that's being targeted, whether it's over-disciplined in school, whatever you want to pick out or talk about. What is the response from people when you're the one who's actually the victim of something?
I'm glad I'm first. I don't know if y'all want to switch it up, but we can. But I've been discriminated against all my life, from white folks, black folks, peers, people I don't know, all that. But I don't handle racism well. Really discrimination, period. Like I don't handle it well. I go off the deep end. I can't help it. I'm sorry. But I'm gonna give you an instance. I had to be strategic one time. Right. Yeah, you know, I ain't not yet. You know, this really strategy. I'm not no fool by far. You know, I just look like this, but I'm in Atlanta. Back in 2008, I made music. I'm in Atlanta trying to sell some CDs. Went and bought me a CD press, basically that put your label on your CD or whatnot, and I had done printed up like 100 of them or whatnot. Debt broke. Got a baby at home. Her mom and her mom, 2 children too. So I'm broke, but you know my daughter's mom worked. So I'm like, I'm trying to push myself. I'm trying to get out here because it's dead in Athens. I got to go to Atlanta. Went myself with another friend who recorded my music, just me and him. Went to the Georgia LSU SEC championship because like I said, I'm strategic anyway. So like it's numbers. Like I got 100 CDs. I can sell at least 100 or 20 of these CDs or something because it's over 10,000 people coming up here, 50, 70,000 people, whatever. So I get up there. We trying to maneuver or whatnot. Ain't making no money. Ain't nobody spending no money. All these white folk with all this money don't want to buy now CD. I understand y'all don't know who I am. I get it. But I'm still being professional. I'm trying. I ain't out here begging and bombing. So, you know, and after a while, my friend, he went to use the restroom. So by that time, the Grand Wizard looked like to me. He walked up and he had a suit on. He had a Georgia Dome suit, you know, police suit on. And he like, oh, you gotta go. You can't do this. Now I lied. Now I ain't gonna tell you no lie because I told him I was trying to get the CDs away. You know, I didn't tell him I was soliciting. But, you know, I'm like, man, what you talking about? He like, oh no, you gotta get off up here with this. You can't do this, that. I'm like, all right, I'm just waiting on my friend, though. He finna come out or whatnot. And he like, well, when he come out here, you tell him y'all gotta go. I'm like, okay, that's straight. So by the time my friend coming out the door, 2 black females walked up. And he was coming out the door, they were walking up. I told him, I said, look, man, we gotta go. I'm broke. I can't get locked up here. I can't make bail in Fulton County. I'm sorry. I'm not going to Rice Street, for real. So okay. But then he see the female, he think he got a sale. I got them. Look, bro, we got to go. No, I got them. He tried to sell him the CD. I said, man, I walked on. You know, I told him, come on, I walked on. Next thing I know, dude was on the bike too. He pulled back up, rolled up on me quick, jumped off the bike. I told you to go. Told you to get out of here. I said, man, I told him to come on. We coming. We finna leave. You know, we finna go. I'm trying to go. Mm-hmm. You see me walking off. I'm walking off. I said, you see me walking off. No, I told you to leave. So I'm like, man, what are you talking about? I'm leaving. So next thing I know, he pulls out the nightstick. Boom, whipped it out real quick. So I'm like, oh, hell no. We ain't finna do this. So he was like, put your hand against the rail, because it was a guard rail, police rail, or barricade rail rather. Police, that's crazy. But barricade rail, whatever, it was right there. He was like, put your hand up against the rail. I'm like, man, I ain't did nothing. So, like I say, I don't handle racism well. So I was like, you know, forget this. I went to hollering at him. I ain't did nothing. I'm being modest with how I'm trying to use my tone, but fuck you, this or that. I ain't did shit. Whatever, this or that. So he was like, I'm telling you, and he reared back. So that's when I went to like hollering, oh, y'all help, somebody help me. He trying to beat me. I ain't did nothing. I ain't did nothing wrong to him. This or that. One white dude pulled his camera out. He pulled his camera phone out. And it might not have been in 2008, 2010, because camera phone went out in 2010. But LSU and Georgia, SEC. But So dude standing right there, I'm looking at him the whole time. People just walking by. Ain't nobody trying to help me. Even my partner wasn't trying to help. He was scared. You know, I'm pissed off at him. I'm like, man, if I'm going down, you need to go down with me. You don't just leave me out to dry. But I ain't tell him that, but that's what I'm thinking. So the Fulton County Police come. Black people. I'm swearing these people finna help me. These people gave me pure hell. No, you need to do what they tell you. I said, man, I ain't did shit. I ain't did a damn thing. I'm not finna do what they tell me to do because I didn't do nothing wrong. I told him I was leaving. I was walking out, leaving. He like, but that don't matter. Dude wanted to lock me up. The female stopped him from locking me up. But by that time, like I said, I'm outraged. I don't care no more. You're going to have to do what you got to do to me because I am not going to stand up and let you beat me. No, I'm going to stand up and let you beat me. I'm not going to get down on my knees and you beat me. No, you're going to have to beat me like I am. So some kind of way, I ended up calming down. No, they told me to calm down. Thank the female, like, look, just be quiet. Then that one dude, like, look, just be quiet. Just let it go. Okay, it's straight. So they ended up letting me go. Walked off, saw Steve Jones, Judge Jones. Federal court judge now. He was federal then. This when he moved to federal. But he was him and his wife, and so I stopped him. I said, "Sir, can I holler at you?" He trying to get in the game. He ain't want to hear nothing I had to say. Period. His wife stopped. His wife made him stop and listen to me. I said, man, these folks just tried to handle me, man. I ain't did nothing. I'm crying. I am crying blood, basically. Man, I just need you to just do this, So he ended up telling me to call him. Didn't never call him, no, because that's how it is. You in these situations, you at that time you want action. But if you don't have help at that time, you walk away. I made it another day. I live to see another day. Live to die another day. Went on about my business. Like I say, I ain't call him. Whatever, however, it is what it is, you know.
I mean, that thing is that a life? You got to ask yourself, is that a life always worried about, something going sideways? Is that freedom? I don't know. It sounds like slave days to me. You're still living. You made it another day, but do you ever actually get to be free? Now, I'm what some people consider a high-risk dater. Because I'm sure a lot of people have gotten that talk. You need to stay away from these white girls. And but I went to high school in what in the equivalent of Oconee, except in California. So that was all there was. So I somehow by circumstance became what is considered a high risk dater. But it's a very vulnerable position.
Oh yes.
It's a very like anybody in this room can have me arrested. Just for getting mad at me, for any of the things, like you could. The only people who can't just get me arrested because they want to are the people on the panel.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but all the rest of you guys, I'm like my life is vulnerable, and it's always like it's just assumed that. Let's say we were walking by a cop and it's someone, my wife is white right now. If she just asked the cop for directions, if she said, yeah, we want, it'll autocorrect, did he beat you? The assumption is that anytime I'm involved and another white lady's involved, it's because I beat her. And that I don't do that. But that's the vulnerability that I walk around with, and that everybody there's a vested interest in me being that guy because I'm what you call a free Negro. Also, I do tend to say things that make people upset, so they're just looking for a reason that I'm a bad guy. So you put those together, I walk around I carry a lot more vulnerability and risk than I realize that I understand that other people do. You got to be okay with it. I'm probably not going to live as long. My health outcome's going to show that risk. I'm probably not going to make as much money. That's going to show that risk also. But, I'll be free. Also, 1929 is a fantastic year because 3 people were born in that year. Anne Frank was born in 1929. Martin Luther King was born in 1929. Right? And Barbara Walters was born in 1929. So one of those people made it. One of those people made it. And it wasn't the person under state-sanctioned targeting. One of those people got to see all their grandkids. One of those people actually, if I had trust funds for their grandkids, people don't tell you, the civil rights leaders. And I tell my kids that their legacy and their inheritance is going to be videos like this because I don't know if I'm going to be able to leave them anything. Because people don't tell, the civil rights leaders all died broke. Not all of them, but most of them died broke. But Barbara Walters did fine. So you have to think about who's vulnerable, whose life actually who gets to survive and live in a way, and who's a target for all kind of achieving the same sort of freedom, the same quality of freedom. But that's all.
Can I level with y'all for when this country was founded, we weren't free. We were slaves. It's just the truth. Eventually, yeah, slavery ended, but we still weren't free. So I know growing up, and even now as a grown man, I live in fear. I live in paranoia. I live thinking that if in the wrong place, in the wrong time, I could die or go to jail. If I'm pulled over for a tail light out, I fear lights. I fear cop lights, police lights. I have a fear of it because there's a thought that at any given moment, if you move too quick, if you talk too loud, if you say something that the cop doesn't like, you could die. That has been a part of my mindset since I can remember. We live in a system that teaches us that we're dangerous. Even if I see a black guy with a hoodie on, I'm scared of it. But that's how bad it is. We fear our own people because we have been conditioned that way.
Well, we also know if we see a black guy in a hoodie, we also know his life has been probably pretty hard.
Yeah,
and poor people are dangerous and he's probably broke. Yeah. So
I'm telling you, it's
But it's not paranoia, it's the truth.
It's
like
the truth.
white terrorism that went into creating that is like, it's not paranoia, it's truth.
It's the truth.
Like, you are constantly in danger. Like, I could put any of you in jail anytime I feel like it, just because I say you did do something. That's it for you.
Yep. Our truth is never. They never dig deeper. Well, why did he fight that guy? Maybe his mom wasn't around. Maybe he was beat as a child. Maybe his father killed himself. Maybe he grew up poor. He didn't eat for weeks. Why did he rob that store? Maybe his kids did not eat for 2 weeks. Anything. They never look at that. But they understand that we are products of where we're born and where we're raised. We're products of our environment. So what helps me now is that if I feel like I'm becoming a victim of prejudice or discrimination, I choose not to shrink. I chose to study the law, so the average cop can't just lock me up for any dumbass thing. I'm gonna know the law enough to where I can defend myself. My kids will know the law enough to where they can hold their own if they need to. So my main thing is just I had to get to a point where I understood my truth, and I understand that sometimes when someone is being prejudiced against you for your skin, it's because they don't know themselves, or maybe they are just kind of scared. They have a perception of you because it's what's been taught to them since they grew up. Every time you look on TV, there's a black guy on the news, his face is plastered. Murderer, 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 murderer. Maybe he was defending himself. Maybe, just never know. But his face is plastered. The propaganda is that we're dangerous and that we're scary. and that anytime you come across us, you have to be careful, and that we steal, but everybody steals, and everybody.
And
kills.
white women steal the most, actually.
It's just what we're.
Anybody
What
who's
we're
worked
doing.
retail knows that.
I'm telling you,
It's white women.
it's
All the
system.
stats. It's white
It's
women
the
who are
system.
shoplifting.
So what I do is I know the system, I know the truth, and I stand on my truth. I will not shrink. I do not fear being black anymore. I am not ashamed to be black anymore. So that is what I do to kind of just help myself live with it day by day. Just kind of know your worth and take a day at a time.
Yeah, it's hard to know your worth in a society and culture and city and town that treats you like trash. And so like the work you have to get to where like even though the world lies, you know yourself like what's true. I mean,
I sold dope for 26 years. For real.
You're a small business owner.
I'm small business. I run a great campaign. I ran a great program for real. I ain't been to prison number twice in my life. And
customers were happy?
I only did 7 months in prison. 7 months. So I sold dope for 26 years. I'm not playing. And you can't tell me I ain't run no legitimate business. So, hey, yeah.
Real quick, before Terrence goes, I want to say knowing your worth is tricky. In this city, because what I'm worth is $250,000 for somebody else if they hit me with a car.
Exactly.
So like my worth in Athens is as someone else's payday. And I'm referring to the cop who got paid $250,000 for hitting Woozy last summer. And that's like that's you hit an Negro, you get 200. That's a $250,000. That's a legacy. That's more money than I've made in my life. like you understand? That's like for hitting. So that's my place in society is to be somebody else's payday. Like I don't know if that's much different than a natural resource, but like I exist for I'm someone else's asset. And whether you're like a white lady teacher or a white guy cop, like I'm here for you to get your payday. And if I stand up for a worth that's different for that, well, that's an easy way to get criminalized. Like, if I say that, like, no, I'm not just an asset. No, my people. Because it's one thing, it's dangerous a little bit to be a black person, and especially a black man, you're vulnerable. But if you actually care about black men and care about black people, you're dangerous. Right? Because there's a place for a black man or like black woman who's willing to do black people dirty. You can do all sorts of things. You can get elected all sorts of things. You could become president of the United States depending on who you talk to. If you're willing to not
to sell out black
actually
people.
look out for black men. But the moment you start looking out for black men and actually caring about justice for black men, you are a target. You're dangerous to the working of the society. So it's one thing to be black. It's another thing to care about black people. So like Andrea's probably got a target on her head because congregating all these black men together and talking about stuff. That's right, it's yours. We had a good thing. Take their place.
I am not popular with some people. Would you believe?
You might get ideas now.
I think what makes it hard for like us four, because it is a lot of black on black crime. So I'm not going to sit up here and make it seem like, okay, it's white against black or black people are so perfect. I mean, you do got a lot of black on black crime, but the thing is, you got a lot of people that like, just fly straight path, but we get, I guess, stereotyped by the other stuff that's going on. I mean, just because something happened on the west side of Athens where you got a group of guys hanging out, breaking in cars, that don't mean on the east side of Athens, if you come across me and my friends, that we are no good. We could just be hanging out. I said we could just be hanging out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got kids that's live in Overthorpe County, and so I don't know if y'all like keep up with the news like far as like on Facebook, but Overthorpe got a bad reputation with pulling people over. So I don't even go to Overthorpe. My kids come to Athens to see me. I haven't been to Overthorpe since last year when my son played football, but it's just like
Is that freedom?
know what I'm saying? I mean, Madison County too. I mean, it's just like this. I don't know if it goes by the type of car you drive, or I guess Overthorpe is so small they notice a car that doesn't normally build in the area. So I don't go through Overthorpe. Every time you turn around, there's a roadblock. I mean, they pulling people over, locking people up, and so this is my thing right here. I used to work at Power Partners on Newton Bridge Road. You got the beer place with the Terrapin. Is the Terrapin, I think? You have a sheriff that sits out there and like directs traffic. I mean, people go over there to drink beer. I mean, you don't see no roadblock when it's over. I mean, you don't see them but just let it be like a party in the neighborhood, a football game at Cedar Shows on the east side. A lot of black people there. So, I mean, you might have a roadblock down by Wick Davis on Barnett Shows Road, because they know people, drinking, leaving the package store or leaving the nightclub. But my thing is, you can have people at a beer Terrapin, like going in there sampling beer. No, they drinking. They didn't walk there. The sheriff is directing traffic, but you never hear about a roadblock or anything like that. But as soon as, the nightclub is over, you have certain gas stations closed down. And I got family members that live in Atlanta, and so everybody knows the Marathon, the racetrack, that's a 24-hour gas station. Quick Trip, 24 hours. Okay, in Athens, the Marathon, the 24-hour gas stations, after the clubs lets out, they close down. I don't know about 5 Points or, Oconee County, but on the east side of Athens, from like 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, the gas stations are shut down because they don't want people coming in the stores. And it's mostly black people. So, that's why lately I've been on the weekends I'm off work, I stay at home, watch basketball, football, and go have little house parties. I go to certain parties, but it's just me and my girlfriend, we go straight home. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have bad stuff happen at the club or at the gas station, but just they'll take one incident and they'll, punish everybody for it. And I don't think that's right.
And I don't like the stipulation of black on black crime. That really bothers me to death.
Yeah.
Because there's white on white crime, there's Hispanic on Hispanic crime, there's white on black crime, black on white crime. There's crime
We're surrounded
everywhere.
by black people.
Yeah.
So if you're surrounded by black people and there's crime, it's going to be black on black crime.
But in order for the system to work, black on black crime is publicized more.
And, just a comment about there's a lot of violence in black communities, and there's a massive amount of trauma and poverty. And, anyone who's worth their weight or salt or whatever you want to call it, who studies intimate partner violence, intimate partner homicide, knows that the ecological antecedents to violence are poverty and substance abuse. And when you eradicate poverty, the violence disappears. And so there's an aspect of where we know that there's a lot of violence in black communities. We know that it's bidirectional. We know that it's couples fighting each other. It's friends fighting each other. It's people fighting each other. And we use a lot of white theories to explain what is happening in black communities in a way that is really, to be honest, intellectually dishonest and dangerous, because it erases the antecedents to the violence, which is, white terrorism and legacies of lots of things that created poverty. And that when you get rid of the poverty, the violence, it's just people who are stressed out because of poverty. And if you've ever been stressed out and not been able to pay a bill, you understand what that means. And if you haven't, you don't. And so we pathologize what is the violence that exists in black communities instead of contextualizing it like responsible scholars should, and that there is no the black on black crime thing is just this intellectually dishonest thing that we sort of pull out to say well, see, they deserve it, or well, see, black men are violent, when first of all, they're not more violent than black women. There's a lot of bidirectional violence where people are just fighting each other, especially when you bring in child abuse. But people don't want to talk about bidirectional violence. They only want to talk about male perpetrated violence, and they don't want to talk about black men as victims of violence.
You get a job after this?
No.
You can't talk.
I will not be hired at any university. But so black men were the primary victims of intimate partner homicide until 1994, 92. So well into the like early 90s, like black men were the primary victims of intimate partner homicide. They were dying at higher rates than any other group from intimate partner homicide. And then intimate partner violence, they're 60% of the victims of intimate partner homicide between like black couples. And so it isn't a gender thing. It's a poverty and, substance abuse thing. And that when you account for, economic stressors and substance abuse, the violence disappears. But we want to erase like black male trauma, black male victimization when they are huge recipients of massive amounts of targeted violence.
Yeah, there's a few things going on. So, in terms of bidirectionality, I don't have. If anyone wants to shoot me an email, I could shoot you the letters. In terms of bidirectionality, it's the case that the more severe harm happens to women, but the instances of harm are 50-50 or slightly a little bit more black male victimization. Slightly. So like it'll come, when I was locked up, someone had a story of like, I was sitting at home, my lady comes home from work, she hits me on the back of the head, and then I push her from a seated position, and then she calls the cops, and the cops come, and I go and answer the door, but then I remembered that I had the gun shells, not the gun, but the gun shells lying on the counter, and I didn't want the cop to come in, so I just went with him. And so that's a story. I mean, that seems like an idiosyncratic story, but we all know people who've been locked out for stuff like that. Like just kind of like, it was just easier for me to just go and be locked up than to explain that like she hit me and then I pushed her, but I was seated, so it wasn't that hard. And yeah, I did push her, but then she hit me in the back. So it's the case that instances of instigation are bidirectional, but in terms of like harm, except for homicides until 92, like pre-92, in terms of like who was harmed the most, it would be black women were harmed the most in this, and severity of harm. But if someone spits at you and then you punch them, they're going to be harmed the most. But like, why are people spitting at people? So it's a little bit. So it's like it's fighting, but people are fighting because they're stressed. So if you get rid of poverty, substance abuse, mental health issues, and just when you think about the way America's kind of concentrated all of those issues in black communities, like the culture of de-escalating contact, de-escalating conflict, if you put those four things together, then that will explain violence, intimate partner violence in black households, more than just like male power. Because like I don't like, so I grew up in a family that was divorced because my dad just didn't make enough money for my mom, and so she dipped. But I suspect, did anybody here grow up in a family that stayed together? No, I didn't make it. Yeah, so and you have to ask us, what's breaking up? What's the stressor that's breaking up these black families? Is it because we're animals, or is it because American marriage isn't meant for a deprived community? So like, let's make this community less deprived, and things will work out a lot better. Like I'll tell you, my mom even admits now that like, yeah, if your dad made a little bit more money and could keep a job, we would have stayed together. But, Oprah told her to live her best life, and it was the 80s, and all of her friends were getting divorced, so she got divorced. She admits it now. But at the time, it's just, I need to be me. So like all of the stressors that cause like fractions in black relationships and in black communities, like they can be prevented with better politics and with better solutions. Like I suspect most people here would have better relationships and parents would have had better relationship if everybody had like a decent paying job and access to a decent paying job.
Well, yeah, I grew up in Athens. I grew up in Rolling Ridge and Rock Springs, Broderick, some of the like worst neighborhoods on the west side of town. It's terrible. You can relate to that. You can relate to that. The floors are concrete. Like the There's no wash and dryer hookups. There are some neighborhoods today that they still hang their clothes on clothesline to dry their clothes. Today, in 2020, there's roach infestation.
Right quick. What you said. Did y'all hear what he said though? The floors are concrete. Concrete drains energy. It's simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Concrete drains energy. So think about it.
It's a lot. It's you stick a bunch of people. It don't matter if they're white or black or what. You stick a bunch of people in one location with limited resources. There's going to be stress. There's going to be crime. There's going to be turmoil, struggle. It's going to be there no matter what. That's not a human thing. That is nature. If you stick 2 lions in a cage with a piece of meat, they're going to fight. One piece of meat, they're going to fight. And the lion that wins is going to get that meat. It's the same way in black neighborhoods. There's not a lot of resources. There's not a lot of opportunity. There's not a lot of freedom to do anything. You're just kind of stuck. And when you grow up into that environment and that's all you know, when you get out, sometimes you're just kind of lost. It's all kind of overwhelming to you. I ended up getting kicked out of Clark Central and going to a predominantly white high school, and I could barely communicate with a lot of the kids that went there. And when I got there, you're from Athens, are you in a gang? They had this perception of me before I could even develop one for myself. And we grow up conditioned in these situations. People don't understand what we live in. It is horrible. Parents can't get a job. The male is demasculated. The women, most of the time, they pump drugs in here. It's so easy to get drugs, but so hard to get a job. They're so easy for you. It's so easy.
Yeah,
as an 8-year-old kid, I could get a gun before I could go and buy something else. It was easier for me to get a gun
go get some candy at the store.
to go and get candy from a store.
Yeah.
It's that bad, and nobody understands it unless you're there. It's crazy. It's literally like you're an animal. It's literally like you're an animal. You grow up thinking you're an animal. You grow up living like you're an animal, and you grow up with people treating you like you're an animal, and they expect for us not to be angry or depressed. It's crazy. Crime isn't. They never look at the deeper situation to it. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
And they're intentional. I mean, this is the place where all of this has political antecedents, and that the political conditions that create these communities are intentional decisions made by people in positions of power. So we made it this way, and we can make it a different way. But it takes political solutions because it was political interventions that created the poverty that we have in Athens. I mean, we have a 35 to 38, depending on who you talk to, poverty rate in Athens that we made. And that we're responsible for fixing, but it isn't fixed by charity. It's fixed with political interventions and political solutions to actually remedy it. So.
Well, I'm gonna speak on when they say about poverty. Poverty, it leads to substance abuse, and that leads to violence. I'm gonna speak on, let's see, the neighborhood I grew up in, Athens Garden, right? It doesn't have a basketball court. And so the sister apartment complex, Clark Gardens, I mean, they owned by the same people, private properties. They have a basketball court. And so it was last year, October, I think. I tried to go get a basketball goal put out there for the kids, because the thing about it, when you ride through there, you got the kids in the middle of the road bouncing the basketball, almost getting hit by cars. I mean, you got the older guys out there. I mean, they doing whatever they doing, but instead of the kids having a playground to play on, basketball goal to shoot ball on, they don't have one out there. So my thing is, when you ride uptown, towards 5 Points and towards downtown, you got all these new college apartments. They got gyms, pools, bars. Got what it is, the little coffee place on the inside. I mean, they can do all this stuff for the college kids, but I mean, when it comes to the people that live in Athens, I mean, you ride through the neighborhood, blinds all tore up. I mean, trash can over flooded, trash on the ground. I mean, they don't even have proper maintenance care. I think for 2 months, the grass in both of these complexes, Athens, Garden, and Clark Garden, the grass was to your knees. They didn't have any maintenance. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but like you say, when you put a lion in a cage with one piece of meat, it's just like the black community. I mean, you got people out there staying, apartment messing up, water leaking. They can't get a job because they don't got the education. I mean, they gonna do what they want to do. I mean, I know I would. I mean, before I started working, I used to hang in places like that, and it was hard for me to get a job until my record got clear. But a person is not going to sit back and wait on somebody to give them something. If you keep trying to get a job and you keep getting denied, I mean, you're going to turn to something else. I don't know if it can be legal or illegal, and I chose the illegal way. So my thing is...
Oh, yeah, because what other pathway existed for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for not just a black person, but like if you got a criminal record, it's hard for you to get a job. But, I mean... My thing is, I try to get a job through a temp service. They wouldn't give me the job because of my background. Me and a white guy, I don't know if it was because of my background or because of the color. Probably my background. But the thing is, it was a white guy, went to the temp service, and we knew each other, went to school together. He got the same job I got. He lasted 2 weeks, came in late, called out one day, and then I think he messed up a part. 2 weeks, he got fired through the temp service. They fired him. I've been working there next month, be 5 years, and I'm a convicted felon. I got the job through the door, though. It took me 6 months to get the job, but you know what I'm saying? When I got the job, I mean, I still got it. So my thing is, when you go try to find a job, you get discriminated because of your background, or, I mean, it might be because of your color. I'm not sure. But my thing is, when you put a person in a situation, they have no choice but to go down the wrong road, they're going to go down the wrong road.
Well, maybe to them that road isn't wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the only road.
It's the road. It's either I stay here or I go down the road.
Take that road, you go to jail, you get out, and then you're labeled, hey, I took that road. So everybody that's used to this road is not going to hire you because you took that road.
Yeah.
It's a cycle, and it drives us freaking crazy.
So about Terrence's, job. Right now he's in a temp job for 5 years, he said, right? Oh, you're full-time. You're full-time.
But I tried to go temp, but I was denied, so I just waited 5 months
Until it opened up, and now you have a
full-time.
Full-time. All right, so, and then without that job, how would you be doing right now?
I'll probably be in the street.
All right.
Because I got kids, I mean, so,
Yeah. So, better job policies. I know there's some elected officials and want to be elected officials in the audience. So better job policies, if you want to actually make black life something close to freedom, that would be a good way to do it. Also,
That's a start.
That's a start.
Because first of all, I don't want to just work for nobody. You don't feel what I'm saying? And I ain't no good job. I want my own, I need to be trying to figure out how to get my own, even though I do. But I'm saying, like, the younger generation, they need to be figuring out how not to work for life, for a living, how to run their own businesses. Everybody can't be a boss, but everybody is not a worker either. I'm not no worker. I don't like being told what to do, so I got to figure out how to run my own business,
that's possible. 95% of the workforce in the United States are like they work for somebody. That's 95%. And I think the problem is I've had a lot of jobs for a person with as many degrees as I've had a lot of low-paying, low-class jobs because I have a hard time in the private sector. So I have to go to a job that I'm overqualified for because I tend to always kind of stick up for black people. And that's a dangerous thing to do in the private sector. But if you have a good job that pays well, white people don't understand because they're treated like employees. We're still kind of treated like slaves. So I've never actually had a job where I was treated like an employee. This is the closest one, and I almost got kicked out last year. I've never actually had a job where I was treated like an actual employee that makes real money. Only one. And so, how much do you make at the land trust?
I ain't that.
Yeah, see.
That ain't your business.
No, I'm just saying now,
that ain't your business. I'm straight though. I'm making better money than I did working temp services,
Right.
and slaving, breaking my back.
So if he had a good job,
Exactly.
like, so the idea that like everybody has to be an entrepreneur in America, well, that's not how the market's set up. Like we need employees. A small business in America now is under 500 employees. So like most people work for somebody, but we need working conditions that like pay $30 an hour and 2-week vacation, and like we need white people jobs. We
treated like white people at your job.
yeah, but I want to be paid like a white person, and I want that.
I
Yeah,
want to be treated like a black person. Treat me equally.
to a black person that makes money.
People supposed to be treated. You know.
Right. So we got to think about the slots that we work in. And I think there's a guy named Michael Oakeshott who said it takes 3 generations to make a career. It takes 3 generations to make a career. So pretty much you end up at the social status of what your grandpa was. Not necessarily the job, but kind of the social status. Now, what did your grandpa do, Terrence?
Drive the bus for UGA.
Drive for UGA? And on the other side?
My mom,
Your mom's father.
he passed when I was 4.
All right. So one was erased, and the other one. What about what was your
No idea. Never met him.
your grandfather's?
One of them was a shade tree mechanic, bought all his life, but he had land. And the other one was a trash man. He had his own business, though.
Huh.
He was a trash man.
All right. So you end up pretty much at that social status. And what does that mean? Well, it depends on, I don't know, America. And if you want, and you have to understand that the black labor force in the South, up through the 40s, 75% of the black labor force was domestic work and farm workers. And right now we're pretty much slotted into 13 different positions. We do 13 things in America. We do. I would like us to do all of the things, but somehow we end up still doing those same 13 things. And the 13 things we do don't pay so
And in
high.
Athens, I
Right.
found where we hired all the black men. They work for the sanitation department. Because when I did the Citizens Government Academy, we went to visit all the departments around the city, and I was like, oh, there's like 20 black guys here that work. And I was like, oh, this is where we hide them. In Athens, there's only a few places you're allowed to like be and take up space as a black guy. Yeah. Where have you ever walked in? Like the airport?
But can I touch on? I want to touch on the point what you just said though. You know, you said being treated like white people. That's the problem with America. I'm not white. I'm not gonna act like you. I'm not gonna be. No. I ain't. I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, society has trained us to think that white is right, that black, anything black is wrong, is dirty, is nasty, is filthy, is just plain out nothing. That's far from the truth. Or case when you dealing with somebody like me, I'm telling you, cause you beautiful, I'm beautiful. You ain't no better than me. I'm no better than you. It's simple as that. I don't care if you Bill Gates or whoever. I will bring you down to my level if you think you are better than me because your skin is brighter than mine. And that goes for anybody. White, black, I don't care who it is, because like I said, I've been discriminated against all my life just because I'm dark. So white people discriminate, black people did too. Just because you're lighter than me don't make you better than me. It don't make you greater than me. And them facts. So we got to erase that stigma from America. Professionalism. You have to, oh, hello, my name is Nakima Stovall. I am not that. This is how I talk. I talk like this. I ain't said nothing that's derogatory, even though I said ain't. That's black slang. That's how we talk. We don't talk with per se, quote unquote, correct grammar. We have slang emphasis in our talk. America need to accept that. People around here needs to accept that, because I'm not going up in nowhere. Oh, hello, Gregory. There's no. Just saying.
Another thing about there are a lot of programs for black kids in Athens. There are some programs, not enough, but like, no. There are some programs, and everyone's like, well, we got to think about the children. We got to think about the children. And then something happens with black kids. They turn into black men. Like, I worry. When you're surprised, from time to time, they pass 18. And there's no place for them. Like, I worry about little ice cream dude because pretty soon he's going to be grown ice cream man, and I don't know what happens to him when he stops being cute. Yeah, like I don't know we don't have a structure. And I actually think all the kids programs, or a lot of the kids programs, we got to think about the children, is a way to pass the buck. Because when you find out that programs don't work, it takes 10 years, and then you're like, well, we got to focus on the children. So I want to see some longitudinal studies or something about what happens to like the 27-year-olds who are in these programs we have for 13-year-olds. And I do think that it's kind of cheating just to always focus on children and pretend that that black 24-year-olds are doing well in Athens, because they're not. They're not.
That any of those programs train those black kids to fight for their cut of Athens. Because, Athens, we are a very rich community. We have an 8.5 billion GDP. So we're one of the wealthiest counties in Georgia.
But how much of that belongs to the university?
Yeah, well, and it's the distribution, yeah. But the distribution is where we hoard that wealth in certain communities and deprive other communities. And so we're surrounded by wealth because we're surrounded by deprivation. That the wealth exists because of it being siphoned off of certain communities to build it for other communities. There's no way to talk about, one of the primary places where black men are discriminated is the labor market in terms of like jobs. But yeah, good jobs and a say in work conditions. So there's a way in which we talk about employment discrimination. We have a pretty robust discourse around sexual harassment on the workplace, around the gender pay gap. But what we don't account for is the huge holes in black male employment. So, for example, black men are said to make a little more than black women, but that doesn't account for the fact that like black women have steadier employment and black men have lots of gaps of employment. So when you actually account for that, black men are more discriminated against on the workplace and have low wage jobs as well. So in terms of the place for having a good job, the difference for you or any of you between when you actually had a good job that provided for things and periods where you didn't, can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay. I had a low-paying job. I had to work 7 days a week. They either, got paid every 2 weeks. I was making $10 an hour. And so the supervisor, he let me work all the hours I wanted. But the thing about it was taking time away from my kids. And so I finally got a better paying job now. But back to what you were saying about, the pay gap or whatever. Okay, at my current job, you got certain people in higher paid positions because they got a degree. But at the same time, you got people that don't got a degree doing the same job. So, I don't understand.
I understand completely. It's not right.
So, once again, you have to work a lot of hours to have a decent check to provide. But by you doing that, you're taking away from your family. Like, I got 2 jobs.
And how many times have you worked for a boss that you knew more than but were paid less?
Oh, plenty of times. I done had a lot of jobs. Plenty of times.
Swallow. Difference between a low-paying job and a real job?
The real job I've been in both positions. I've had terrible jobs, literally working for crumbs. And now I'm a mechanical engineer, but I am the only black engineer in my company. Everybody else is Indian, Asian, or white. I'm head engineer for a Honda department, but I get paid least than everybody else. I'm the top engineer for Honda, so there are some parts that we make that I am in charge of creating for them. And I get paid less than the Indians and the whites and the Japanese.
But what if you go to your people and organize? Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Yeah, exactly.
He ain't got no people in there.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And there was a study about black middle class people with the same heart disease. If you're poor, you actually have better health incomes for this kind of heart disease than if you're middle class and black and you have this kind of heart disease. Because if you're middle class and black, that means you're surrounded by white people, and that's stressful. So it ends up having that's the stress. And that's also the problem with this narrative of, well, if you just do right, you can make it out of the ghetto. I don't want to make it out of the ghetto. That's not success. Success is not escape. Go to some place where everyone kind of you're surrounded by a bunch of sharks. No, you don't want to make it out of the ghetto. You want to bring everybody up with you. You want your people around with you. So this idea that success is like making it out. And in Athens, you hear a lot of parents say well, if you really want to make something yourself, if you're a black man, you got to leave Athens. That's not success. That's escape. That's like saying we solved mass incarceration by having more people break out of jail. That's not a serious solution for community uplift. And you can't be successful and alone at the same time. And real wealth, people don't understand. Well, white people know this, but real wealth isn't what's in your bank account. It's what's at your wedding. It's what's a phone call away. Because that's what startup capital comes from, and we're in the situation we can't afford to get married. So that's the wealth gap. It's not necessarily personal wealth. It's what's in your bank. And Squally, I'll ask you, would you rather have $1 million now? Actually, no, I'll sweeten the pot. Would you rather have $5 million or everybody you know and all your cousins has $200,000 in the bank?
Right now?
Yeah. Would you have?
I would rather have $5 million.
But everybody, rather than everybody you know, all your cousins, everyone you went to high school.
Right now, present times, I need that.
You need all 10 of those million. What about you?
Back when I was younger, I would take the 5, but knowing what I know now.
Give me 250. Get everybody else, everybody black you run into, they have $200,000 in the bank. That's freedom. Because if you have $5 million now, Squally, you got to move, and you got to change your phone. You can't people can't know your phone number.
Yeah. Right now, I'm taking that.
Well, I say I hustled for 26 years, and no, that's true. But in between, I couldn't just do it in 26 years. Boom, boom, boom. I did have to go get a job here and there in order to stay free. That's how I stayed free, being strategic. So I might go get a job. I got my grandma died when I was 15. When she died, I went and got my first job because I went and moved with my aunt. Worked at Pasta Works, right across the street, down here on Baxter. Like I say, 15, they was paying us. I was a dishwasher, paying us, all the blacks were dishwasher, rather. It was like me, myself, and 6, 7 more homeboys I knew, and we worked different shifts. But I got paid, $5.25, something like that. Them folk had watching them. Them folk coming in, and they selling them pasta plates for $30 now. See, I do the math. See, I ain't just back there washing no dishes. I'm looking at what going through that window back there. So I make sure I get the prices on stuff and make sure I know what's going on. So like I say, we $5.25. My check $500 every 2 weeks. 15 years old now. And like I said, my grandma just passed. Staying with my aunt. My aunt, she got tired of me because I was coming in the house smoking weed, coming in the house late. She got tired of it, told me to get out. So I got out, but I continued to work a little bit till I got tired of it. It wasn't no money. I couldn't live. So, that was 15. Fast forward, like I say, I'm at Athens Land Trust now. This is the longest I've ever been on a job, and it's going on 2 years. The longest. I'm 41 years old. This is the long. Caterpillar was the first, and that was 5 years ago. I was 36. But Caterpillar is the first job that I made $12 an hour in.
So that's why he doesn't want a job.
I was 36 when I started working at Caterpillar. I had 3 children. 5 years. Well, no, my 4th son was being born 5 years ago. Well, no, because he's 6, so that's a little off, but something like that. But $12. I'm working what, 12 hours, no, 10, 12 hours a day, but I need 60, 70 hours just to bring home $650. I got to work 70 hours a week just to bring home $600 a week. Come on, man. That ain't life. Don't nobody want to live like that. So like I said, that's why I did what I did. I figured I could beat the system before I can beat going to work, killing myself. I worked at jobs where I'm pulling pallets at Chip down in Jefferson. They paid us 25 cents a pallet, I think.
My back hurts just listening.
Those pallets, they lease, not sell, they lease the pallets all around the world for $7, $8 a pallet. $7, $8 now. In order for me to make $100, I had to rebuild what 400, 300, no 225, 250, 2 something. I had to touch 200 and something pallets just in order to make $100 that day. If I got anything under 250, 225, I only made minimum wage $9 an hour. Come on, man, that's slavery. That's slavery. I used to wake up in the middle of the night, my hands cramped up. I used to have to pull my hands back apart and get up and go to work the next day. I did it for a few months, but when nobody else hired me, I couldn't get a job nowhere else. I had to go work there because of my background. I had to go work there, but I did it, but ended up cussing everybody out in there every day. And then you say a workforce, nothing but black men. Nothing but black men in this plant. This is a multi-billion-dollar chip. They distribute pallets all around the world. Every crate that's distributed, that Walmart or these Hitachi, all of that stuff comes on a chip pallet all around the world. I told these dudes, man, look, damn this plant. Let's shut it down for 1 day, 2 days, however long it take us. The whole plant is black. Supervisor, young white dude who folks got money, he telling us his folks got money, he ain't got to work there. But he's sitting here bossing us around. Shut the plant down. Oh man, I can't do that. I can't do that. Man, you killing yourself, man. You killing me. And then it ain't no unity. It's no unity within the plant. Everybody working because they got us on production. So you have to get your numbers. So the person is a line, go straight down. The first 4 people, they make all the money. Then you got 4 more people down here who can't even get their numbers because these dudes got a strategy. All the pallets ain't broke. All of them don't need to be fixed. You just got to see, like, if you don't see no broken boards, you can pull it. The most I ever did was like 600 pallets, but I was at the front of the line. So I was just grabbing pallets, boom. I didn't care if they were broke or wet, and that's what they did. But they was killing us though, who down here at the other end. It's crazy.
So hold on. I see we have a lot of either elected officials or candidates. Can you raise your hand? Either elected officials or candidates for elected official. All right, so that's just enough. Now I've clocked you, so I'm gonna make a request, and we're gonna see who leaves out the room. If someone leaves the room, don't vote for them, and tell your friends not to vote for them. Let me be very clear. Everyone understands what's going on right now. So I'm gonna make a request of them, and if they leave the room, they're not gonna get our votes. And that request is take 1 minute and pitch us, and we'll tell you if you're worth a damn to us. How's that sound? You got 1 minute to pitch us.
They got the nerves.
Yeah, all right, so here's a microphone. Stand up, you can queue up. Get up. Roz? Are you? Thank you. There you go. That's a person who knows his job. Thank you for pitching us.
No, I deserve a lot more than 1 minute. Because I want to talk about solutions. And you want to give solutions 1 bloody minute? You know?
You got 2.5.
That's not enough either. That's not enough either. But you know, I want to speak first about the justice system. Because no matter what rights we have, and we should have a right to a job at a fair wage, we should have a right to collective bargaining, but those rights mean nothing if we don't have the right to use a legal system to defend them. And justice should not be for sale. How much money you have should in no way affect what happens to you in the legal system. But here in America, how much money you have determines in a large respect the outcome of what happens to you. And in any society where there are big inequalities in wealth and income, if justice depends upon how much money you have, the justice system not only perpetuates income and wealth inequality, it magnifies it. And when wealth and income inequality is attached to race, a justice system in which money counts not only perpetuates racial injustice, but magnifies it. Ours, of course, does just that. And we have to completely separate money from our rights to navigate the legal system. And I want to present solutions on that score, but you'll have to give me a chance to do it now or later.
What you running for now?
I want to present solutions. I'm running for U.S. Senate. My name is Richard Dean Winfield. My name is Richard Dean Winfield, for those of you who wonder who I am.
You want to hear some solutions, or you want to?
Okay. 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 And I want to focus on the legal system. Because first of all, we all know that the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution gives us the right to legal representation in criminal cases, but we know that that right is not implemented in a fair way. You know, legal aid, court-appointed lawyers, pro bono lawyers, they do not give defendants an equal time in court. They don't have the resources to save them. And then if you have civil cases, you have no right to representation. So we need to end that deprivation with a legal care for all system. We're just like a single-payer health insurance system. You go to any lawyer you want for any personal advice for criminal or civil matters and civil or criminal representation. It's paid for by a government-subsidized insurance fund, which negotiates with lawyers to keep prices in check, and that means we are all getting equal access to legal representation. But then we have to think about the process that we go through in the legal system. And the first step is pretrial confinement. And I think you know perfectly well that there can be reasons for pretrial confinement if you're genuinely likely to commit crimes or tamper with evidence or threaten witnesses. But if that's the case, you should not be allowed to buy your way out of pretrial detention. The cash bail system, in a sense, makes pretrial confinement a matter of how much money you have. And it is, in a sense, inflicting a war on the poor. No one should be able to buy their way out of pretrial confinement if they're really a threat, but cash bail, in a sense, allows justice to fall in a way where the poor, who are not convicted, who are innocent, are packing our jails. 60% of inmates in jails are unable to pay cash bail. But those who pay cash bail are paying in total $14 billion to an industry dominated by 10 huge corporations that makes $2 billion in profits, while we pay $14 billion to keep people in jail who should not be there in the first place. So we need to abolish cash bail. But then we have all this proliferation of fees that are attached to inmates and people going to trial. You have to pay for DNA tests. You have to pay for a jury trial in many states. You have to pay for a court-appointed lawyer. You have to pay for food. You have to pay for telephone calls. You have to pay for medical care in the prison. And then when you get out of prison and you go into parole and probation, in states like Georgia that have for-profit probation service, you have to pay additional service fees. All of these are imposed upon people who are predominantly poor. We need to eliminate all such fees. We also have to eliminate plea bargaining, which is the which is in a sense the high road to mass incarceration. And I hope that one of the candidates for office will pledge to not allow any plea bargaining to go on in our court system. Other court systems do not even allow people to enter pleas. Every case gets investigated properly. I'll stop here.
Because we have so many elected officials. What do you like? What do you not like? What's going on?
Are you saying that for the vote? Because it's right to say for the vote, or because it's right to do? It's right to do. I believe him.
Yeah, I want to speak on what you had said about the legal aids and stuff like that. Like, I mean, like I say, thank God for growth that I don't get in trouble no more. But what I used to witness in the court system, okay, the prosecutor, you're the one trying to send me to prison. I got a court-appointed lawyer, legal aid. The prosecutor, you're trying to send me to prison 5, 10 years, however many years. Okay, my lawyer, I mean, they work for, I guess, the University of Georgia or work for the Clark County. You're trying to defend me. You're trying to get me to go home. But, I mean, after I get sent to prison, I'm sitting there waiting to go back to the jail. You over there laughing and kiki-kiing with the same dude that's trying to send me to prison. So that's why that's another reason why you got populated jails, because the court-appointed lawyers and legal aides, I mean, they buddies with the person that's trying to send you to prison. And as far as like money, okay, for instance, I mean, a person can get caught with drugs. It don't necessarily gotta be black or white, but a person can get caught with, I guess, like $10,000 worth of drugs and get 5 to 10 years in prison. Where here it is, a person can run a Ponzi scheme for millions of dollars or hundred thousands and get probation. So I mean, like, I don't understand the legal system in Athens. I'm gonna speak on Athens. I know other counties, like, you can get caught with a certain amount of weed and they just give you a citation. In Athens, if I get caught with, I guess, $5 worth of weed, I'm going to jail. You know, I'm on probation. So, I mean, just like the legal system in Athens is messed up. That's one reason why I choose to continue to work. I don't try to live that life no more, because I don't want to be a statistic. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get caught with a couple of $100 worth of drugs and then go do 5, 10 years for something when you got this guy that's embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars and he only get probation. I mean.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. My name is Deborah Gonzalez. I am running to be the next district attorney here in Athens, Clark, and I'm running for a couple of reasons. And one of them is because of the racial disparity that's happening right now in our system. And I want to share 2 statistics with you. Number one, in Athens, Clark County, and Oconee, which makes up the Western Judicial Circuit, we have had 2 DAs in 48 years. That's it. Ken Molden was one of them. He is completing 20 years, and the person before him who was there for 28. And this is something that happens throughout the state of Georgia. These people get into these offices, and they are not opposed by others. But the other statistic I want to share with you is a recent study that came out that said a Republican district attorney leads to an 18 to 21% increase in new prison admissions in 2 years following election. A non-white district attorney leads to a 10% decline. No significant effects on local crime or arrest rates. It means that representation matters in these seats where we are not. When you walk into our courtrooms, everybody there is white except for the defendant. We do not see ourselves in roles as prosecutors or judges or even defense attorneys. That needs to change. And that is why I'm running. I have seen what's happening in the communities, and I've been out there talking with lots and lots of people, including the other stakeholders and judges. I do not agree that we can get rid of all plea bargaining, only because there's not enough time and there's not enough people to do these trials. And this is something that there are some facts. Can it get better? Absolutely. In fact, here in Athens, in this judicial circuit, there's 97% of our cases go into plea bargaining, which is actually higher than the national rate, right? One of the problems is that we have an Office of Public Defense that are overworked and underpaid. And that means the state is actually having it against them, because as our Governor Kemp has put in that every agency has to cut their budget, he's only affected the public defender's office. He has not touched prosecution or DAs. Okay? So this is systematic at all levels. And the other thing that I can bring in is, number one, we've never had a female in this position in this district. We've never had a Latino as a DA in the entire history of Georgia. But the other thing I bring in is I was a legislator. I know how to work not just the courtroom, but I know how to work that legislative and what's happening in the Capitol, because we need both angles. We need the laws to be changed, and then we need the people who enforce those laws to have the right sense of what they're trying to do. It all goes together, and part of that is education. We have not had a district attorney election here in 16 years. People don't know what the DA does. People don't know what's happening in our courtrooms. 2019 was the first year we got any statistics coming out of what was happening in our jails, who's there, what's happening in our juvenile justice system. Right now, out of all the cases prosecuted in our juvenile justice system, 77% of them are of black boys, even though they're only 15% of the population. And when you look deeper at that, 76% of the charges are for loitering. I don't care who the police arrests. At the end of the day, who does the prosecution prosecute?
What's going on, Kim? What do you think?
Let me holler at you. Yeah, I got something to say. So, you saying that, first of all, to both of y'all, everybody in here, I be hearing a lot of good game, good talk, and this and that. But these folk get in these positions, and they get stuck. I don't know if they get bought out. I don't know if they taking bribes or what. I don't know. But they don't do what they say they're going to do. Okay, now, as far as the plea bargaining stuff, now let's say, like I say, I was a drug dealer. I don't mind I use myself as analogies because I done been through a lot of stuff. So
From time to time, I deals drugs.
Yeah. So, okay, I caught a couple cell charges one time. In the video, it shows a dark-skinned male with a blue coat on come in and hand the dude something, and the dude had him something, but he can't see it. You can't see it. On another video, it comes in and shows. Didn't show me. It showed me in one spot where nothing took place, but then we come back. The dude parked. It shows somebody walking up. Can't see no face or nothing. Them putting something in the dude's hand, and the dude give him the money. I played out to that. 5 years probation. I took it because I know I can beat it, but I got prior dope charges. They ain't offering me number 5 years probation, 6 months diversion center. So I'm gonna take this. I was guilty. I admit I was guilty, but in the United States of America, you are guilty until proven innocent beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt, they could not convict me.
You wanted to fight it.
No, not that. They couldn't convict me. They could not convict me.
And you still pled out.
What it is the DA's office never should have prosecuted that case. The DA should have never let it went to trial or court or whatever. They should have threw it out because it's a lack of evidence. Regardless if you have plea bargaining in place, that's not beyond a shadow of a doubt. You have to release these people because if I was white, I would be released.
I want to say something. A lot of convictions are made because of your background, I think. Because I've been in the courtroom probably like 50 million times, it seemed like. As far as like the plea bargains, I mean, you expect the person to take a plea for 10, 15 years, and they like he said, you can't convict me. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you searched my car illegally, you came to my house out of warrant, so I'm not going to take 10, 15-year plea bargain. But the thing is, you go to trial, you get more time. So it's just like you stuck in a no-win situation. I mean,
and again, I was guilty, but the evidence is not there to convict me. Nobody. You could not place a face or that person at the scene of the crime. No police ever came back and confirmed that I was this or that, however, or even if that, they still didn't see me give nothing. Okay, you saw me put my hand in the car, but you didn't see me give something.
You wanted to respond or you want to go on?
No.
I can't answer for whatever DA did before I get there, right? But I know that the DA office that I envision is one about serving justice to the community. It's one where we're not overcharging, and it's one that we're actually working with the community in partnership to get our communities the help that they need. You have two types of DAs who are out there. One who's going to be tough on crime, one who's going to say the way I'm going to evaluate my prosecuting attorneys is by how many indictments that they get, how many people they convict, how many people they put in the jails. We want to change that culture. We have to change how we measure their performance. Even today, I had 2 different meetings with UGA law professors on how can that metric look when we go forward, right? I can't answer for what has happened before, but I know one thing. The system is working the way it was designed. If we want different results, we need to start making changes. And that begins with the person that we put to lead that office. Because if we're going to keep going, my opponent, 17 years in that office, you know what? 17 years is a generation of kids that got thrown away. We don't want to throw away kids anymore. We need to change who we have as DA. And that's why I'm running.
I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, right is right, wrong is wrong. So, I mean, if a person get in trouble, I mean, you're supposed to get punished. Like, every time I went to court, I accepted my punishment because I did wrong. But my thing is, if you're going to punish me for what I did, not what I did 10, 15 years ago, because we human. Everybody make mistakes. I mean, I can be on the street, do good for 5, 6 years, make a mistake, go to court. You want to bring up something I did in 1995. I mean, I don't think that's right because everybody's not perfect. Not even people on the other side of the fence. Because, like, one time I was in jail, I can't recall his name. I mean, I don't know who all know the people in the courthouse, but I don't know if it's a prosecutor or DA. One weekend he was downtown. It made the newspaper. I don't know. Somebody might remember. Kimo might remember, but he ate a hot dog. I can't remember his name. He ate a hot dog, walked off with it. And so the guy at the hot dog cart told him he didn't pay for it. He flashed his little, I guess his little badge out of his wallet saying, I work at the courthouse, I'm a prosecutor or something. He didn't steal a hot dog. Long story short, he got locked up. His picture's in the paper. I can't think of his name. You know, do you remember that? He ate a hot dog. I think his name was, is it Owens? I don't know, but he ate a hot dog downtown. He stole the hot dog, really. He was drunk. But it's just like they gave him a slap on the wrist. I mean, he's still in the courthouse. I mean, I seen him, like, I guess last year I went to go pay a ticket. He still works at the courthouse. But my thing is nobody's perfect. I mean, he practiced law. He made a mistake. So my thing is, if I get in trouble 2, 3 years later down the road, don't bring up what I did 5 years ago. I mean, that's why the system is like the way it is.
Man, you talking about he made a mistake, you being modest. That ain't no mistake, that's just stupid. Because I'm not, you know, like, come on.
Yeah,
If you have the leader of that office sets policy, sets the tone.
he said the leader sets the tone. There are 3 in the back. I'll just go in order.
They already elected.
Yeah, no. Are you going for re-election? Well, anybody? Come on.
Let me go because I'm probably like the last one want to hear from, but I'm gonna put my name out there.
2 minutes. Why should we? What are you gonna do for
I
us?
can be brief.
I don't know. You gotta tell us. Who you?
Okay, I'm John Key Williams. I currently work for Athens Clarke County Police Department. Similar to the DA situation, we've had the same sheriff for the last 20 years. I plan to change that. You talked about people being in positions. I can't tell you why people don't do what they say either. But I can tell you the current sheriff has not done a lot. Whether it's complacency, whether it's deals, I can't tell you that. I can tell you what I'm going to do. My background is in training and education. I train police officers. I teach classes about not being biased in your decision making. I teach it to all the new coming officers at the Athens Clarke County Police Department right now. I've also been a sergeant in domestic violence, so I've looked at that angle as well. One big crime that we have in Athens, people don't realize it is. They want to, you talk about throwaway kids. Well, we're throwing away young boys and girls without considering that there are other extenuating circumstances behind what they do. A lot of times we see this 15, 16-year-old that runs away and we say, oh, this is a bad kid. We don't want to invest in how did they get that way? What else is going on? Human trafficking is real. The sheriff's department does not do enough as far as being involved in those situations. With me as sheriff, that will change. I will work with task force. I will work with other agencies around the state of Georgia, nationally, if it comes to that. Atlanta is considered a hub for human sex trafficking. Are we all that far from Atlanta? Does anybody know where Greensboro is from us? Hop, skip, and a jump, right? I've worked several cases where young girls were being trafficked by young men who were in gangs. That has to stop. How can we do that? The jail system is one place that you can do that. Everybody doesn't have to go to jail. I'm a cop, I'm telling you, everybody doesn't have to be arrested. How can we get around that? Think about getting to the root part, the root core of the problems there. If you're selling drugs, look, that's the path you saw. What did you see leading up to you? Because no baby comes out the womb knowing how to sell drugs. Something was there. Yeah. Yeah. So we want to get to those reasons why people do those things. And if you just sold a little weed, which is a misdemeanor at best now, we're not actually arresting people for that because there's a lot of litigation going on now. Those types of things, if we can get to the core problem, are you addicted to drugs? Are you addicted to alcohol? Can we get you in treatment programs instead of going to jail? Those are things that as law enforcement we need to be looking into. Do you have mental health issues? Well, the jail is not a place for somebody that's dealing with mental health. And if we have no other choice but to put them there, we need to be able to treat them accordingly. So diversion programs, that's another thing that I'm going to be all about. Now.
We have two other people.
Okay.
What's your name?
It's John Q. Williams. Q. Williams. And we'll also address the issue with how you're treated in jail, because it breaks my heart to hear that. That should not be.
You got anything, Sam?
I'm trying not to be on that side of the fence with him. But I done had several conversations with our Edwards. I used to be on trustee at the jail a couple of times in the past. I mean, he seemed like a pretty cool guy, but at the same time, I mean, you got stuff that was going on in the jail, and he turned his back on it. I mean, you got the jailers beating on inmates. I mean, you put them in the hole, don't feed them for 2-3 days. I mean,
He's had 20 years to fix it, and he hasn't.
yeah.
I'm from Gary, Indiana, man. I could have gone the route any of you guys up there. I look at you and I see myself.
Gary's not a good person.
I made different choices. I had different avenues, but that's just me. It's not saying that you did anything wrong. You did something different. So
Wow.
that's the approach that I take.
I ain't saying nothing I did.
Next elected official. Ms. Gant, you have anything to say to us?
She already in there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? She might
No,
want
we
to be
ain't
elected.
gonna put that
I
pressure
want to
on
know
her.
how she's going to make our lives better. Think about the children.
So maybe I'll just reflect a little bit. I've been in office about a year, and just a couple of things I've been thinking about. One is when a person is in office, I think that you have to be okay with. You have to be okay you have to be okay with pressure. And so what that means is that you're going to be in places where your decision is not going to be the most popular decision. Sometimes it may be the most popular decision, but you are going to be in the position to take the information that you have to make the best decision you have. Another thing, I guess, that I've learned is that I believe most of the work occurs, and I'm sort of still transforming here, but most of the work occurs with the community itself. And so until we actually sort of change what we demand of people, then people will get in positions and they will sometimes cave to pressure. And so I think a lot of the work has to do with what it is we are asking for, because of a lot of problems that we've talked about. You have people that are in, that are out. They're there for 4 years. Sometimes they're there for 16 years. And then lastly, one of the aspects of my platform that I ran on was basically conditions, and that's school climate and culture. And so I know we've talked a lot about criminal justice reform, and a lot of times you hear this idea about the school to prison pipeline. Well, we typically don't focus on school. So what happens? How does our educational institution prepare people? How do they work in tandem, basically, the schools and prisons? And so that work, be it policy or personal work that we're doing together, oftentimes requires you to have some very tough conversations, because the conditions that we have in schools, they weren't created by people that woke up and said, today I think I'm going to disenfranchise a couple of black students, or I'm going to write this policy this type of way. So most of the disparities that we have, at least I believe, were created not by the people that we think. So oftentimes it requires self-work, because there are well-meaning people, all of us, that actually work to uphold the very systems that we say we're fighting against. And so I don't have a speech. I'm not, running for re-election, but that's not occurring right now. But I can tell you one of the most important things that I believe that people in politics can do is to think about themselves and who they are as a cultural being, and understanding that that can be good, but oftentimes it can be bad, and it shapes how we do our jobs. And who you're willing to fight. Yeah.
About something she said was interesting concerning about the work on the electorate. And Athens has a very funny electorate with respect to justice. We got all these nonprofits that try to do work, and then I just remember when you had an idea about having this panel, except with actual inmates in jail, and the sheriff said, well, we don't do that, so we're not going to do that. That's dangerous, so we're not going to do that. And I don't know, asking questions. So we want to have this panel, except in jail, with inmates asking questions of elected officers. And the sheriff nixed it. And we went to our allies, or people who thought were our allies, and they were like, well, if the sheriff's jail. Now, mind you, 2 years ago, when that same sheriff wanted to cooperate with ICE, these people were like, no, we will knock you out of office. No, you will not cooperate with ICE. We will get you fired. We'll go after your family. We're going to cut you off. If you coordinate with ICE, we will shut you down. There were protests, there were meetings and meetings on top of meetings about the sheriff, and the sheriff said, well, ICE is the national agency. I'd like to cooperate with them. And the Athens community said, no, that will not happen, not on our watch. When you say maybe we should have a debate in jail, that same Athens community was like, well, the sheriff, it's his sheriff's job. So it's the sheriff's jail, so we can't really make him do anything he doesn't want to do. And so now we're having it in the library instead. So you have to think about where are your commitments to justice for, maybe we're a different kind of vulnerable. Where are your commitments to justice for black males in Athens? Because, I don't know. That was an asymmetrical treatment. When there was a justice issue with the undocumented community, we felt a little bit more comfortable putting it all on the line for them than we did a justice issue with black males. And make no mistake, black males noticed this. So think about some commitments we have to justice. That might be justice for some versus not justice for others. Or does everyone we've all just acknowledged that black men are disposable once they stop becoming cute. So around 19, that's it. You had your chance. Nope, no, 13. Now you're just a threat, and maybe jail is where you belong. There's no small amount of that sensibility that works in a lot of the good doers in Athens. There's this weird, the asymmetrical treatment that the idea of fighting the sheriff on behalf of political representation for inmates versus fighting the sheriff on behalf of possibly coordinating with ICE. So where are our commitments? I don't know. ahead, Doc T.
Well, we don't have time for that tonight, but we really don't. That's a whole nother show. This show is coming. But first of all, it's about, I want to just go backwards. I'm a person who have walked the walk with children and parents in this community as long as I've been around. 99, my sister and I started a literacy program, and through that, we ended up, just by a result of the program itself, having to advocate for parents, go into school, have meetings with the parents on and teach parents how to advocate for themselves, and the list goes on. I'm not one to talk about a lot of things that I do with parents and individuals, but we've made a difference. And because of that, I watched the school board for a long time, and as I stated when I ran, I wasn't satisfied with what I saw. I saw a lot of rubber stamping. And I felt that sometimes I'm an introvert, but I can be a lion, a lioness. But I sometimes you have to be the change that you want to see. And I'm one of high integrity. I'm one that I'm going to tell you the truth, so don't ask me if you don't want to know the truth. And so with that being said, I decided to run for school board. And I've done exactly what I said that I would do. I have kept my morals intact. I have looked and read and studied every time we have a school board meeting. I'm read up, prepped up, and I also listen. I listen for what's being shared. I'm listening for what is not being shared. I do research, and my vote is based on those things. Even in a community that I have grown up in, where African-American people that I've worked with in the NAACP for years, other organizations, sororities. I think I had a sorority member who said she was ashamed of my performance. People I've known all my life turn on me because I'm not supporting a person because of their color and not because of their character. I will continue to do what's right. I will not make any apologies for it. I'm not one to make a lot of speeches to come. I came to this really because I want to support the Kingdom tonight. I'm tapped out with workshops, seminars. I've done millions of these in my lifetime. I've sat on a million of them. Still haven't seen the results of what we stated, gave the information we gave. I haven't seen the information being given back to us. So all I can do is what I can do. And I will continue to do that. And if I don't have your vote, that's all right too, because I know that I'm doing what's right for the parents, the teachers, the staff of this district. And so that's what I will continue to do. I'm sorry, my name is Tawana Smith Matters, District 9.
So I just want two questions. Actually, just for you, less two things. Two things that you see are problems that you are getting pushback fixing. Two of the thorniest issues you're dealing with right now that we need. That would be good for.
Well, I think as I reflected over the holidays, which not much, I took my holiday, but but one thing I've thought about is just the education of what the school board role is. That's one of the things I stated when I ran. I think that bringing the community along with us, because we haven't had a lot. I have never seen, which I'm very happy for the level of engagement that we have. I'm very excited and ecstatic about that. But I believe it's very important that we bring the community along with us in terms of education. And I believe that's important in every role. Just like we have the academy for the mayor and commission to have their academy, I would like to see the same thing. Actually, I'm going to propose that, the same thing for the school board. We need to have an academy that actually trains people and help people to understand what our role truly is and what it means to change policies and work on policies. So I think that a big part of it is just a misunderstanding about what the role of a board member is versus the role of a superintendent. And so I think that is, would be a great first start. And then also, I'm always willing to come to meetings to listen, but again, we're still learning our roles. This has been a fast year, I think, for all of us newbies on the board. So we're still learning roles and having to, as our chair, she's having to set up meetings so that we can meet with GSBA, the Georgia School Board Association, GSBA, so that we can actually develop norms. We came into the school board without having those. So there's some work on our end too that we have to do to prep ourselves for the right channels of how to work things, and also to better work through policies,
And you're the last one, 'cause
We do have to wrap this up because they are going to kick us out. And part of the reason for wanting to have this today is that I think that candidates running for office should go to the jail. That part of what our disease is in Athens is that we think of some people as people and other people as not people. And that when we're making decisions in our governing bodies and places of authority, we think about the interests of some groups and we don't think about the interests of other groups. And we have to intervene on that sickness of thinking of some people as people and some people as not people. And part of improving in matters of governance, how we think about the whole, every Athenian, where almost a third of Athens is black. And so there's a third of our constituents that we consistently do not consider in decision making. And so part of why I'm running in my district is that I want to intervene on that way of thinking, and that in matters of governance, we have to think about every group, the interests of and think about our inmates as part of the whole, as people who should have a say in matters of governance. So if you're running for office, you should go talk to our inmates in the same way you would talk to any constituents. And because they're confined there, pre-trial, they haven't been convicted of anything, they have all their rights. We don't annul their marriages or, revoke their deeds when they're sitting in jail. So we also shouldn't infringe and disenfranchise them from their vote. I'm calling all candidates who are running for office this coming year to join me in trying to have forums like this at the jail, where we solicit inmates' questions, field questions, hear their stories, hear how they're treated, what's going on, and what they need from, like me, because I want to be their elected representative. So closing comment, and then we'll wrap this up. Anything you'd like to leave with us?
I didn't say a lot to you. I don't know. I just want to see some type of change where it's more equity and equality, unity, not just black and white, black and black. Too. Because we are disconnected, but we are definitely disconnected in this town. Period. Like all across town, we're disconnected, and I just want to see some changes and stuff, because I got too many little cousins and friends, children who definitely are headed for destruction because it's roadblocks all around this town, and they can't maneuver like we did. It's a lot of intuitive children, the younger generation out here though, but like the methods that we use to get through, they can't do it like that. Like I don't want to see them do it like that. I stayed in the streets too long to see my children and my cousins and stuff out in the streets doing what I did. But it's not enough of us. It's only this is, I don't think you can go through this town and handpick dudes who gonna get up here and really speak the truth and not care nothing about what the other side say. Not separate nothing, but society, it is separated. Society has separated us. So, I'm just frustrated at a lot of times. A lot of people hear me speak or see me and see my actions and speak and whatever, and they feel like I'm angry. They feel like I'm this and that. No, it ain't no anger. It's a lot of passion. It's a lot of love that I have. And I really dislike when people say, man, you need to calm down. Them white folk I ain't scared of them white folk though. So it don't matter what them white folk think about me. It's what I think about me. is what you're supposed to think about you. And once you love you and I love me, then we can really uprise, you know. But we do need help from good white folks like Andrea, Heather Benham, other people who are putting or trying to help place black men like myself. I got invited. I invite my homeboy. Like I say, you know, I met the dude. His sister is from where I'm from, basically. Well, her father is from where I'm from, basically. But I ended up getting locked up and couldn't pay my bond. But the dude I'm locked up with, who done served, 4-6 months or something, I'm in there for a good month because I couldn't pay a $300 bond. We bonded. He came and got me out of jail. I pay homage to this dude all the time. I know he don't be wanting to hear it, but I pay homage to the dude all the time just because of that instance. 2001. 2001 wasn't it?
Yeah, first time meeting, you never need.
2001. Me and this dude clicked, worked out together. I'm in there working out like I got a bid. This man done did his bid. I'm in there, I got a bond. But I can't make the bond because I came in there with $100. Ended up when nobody come get me, I had nobody. When nobody come get me, and those, like I said, those one of those times where I win, my hustling skills went all the way up the par, so I'm broke. And I ain't mind that because I knew what I had to do in order to survive and make it, not to catch no 10, 20 years in prison for selling no dope. But like I say, dude kept it 1,000 with me, stand-up guy. Came and got me. He told me, he said, man, I'm finna get out. I get out this date, I'm coming to get you. We talked about that for how long? About a good 2 months or something. Cause he was like, man, ain't nobody came and got you yet. My cousin got out. My cousin got out and didn't even come back. Told me he was coming back to get me. He didn't even come back and get me.
$300 is $300 when you only have 50.
But no, my cousin was straight. He was the man, you know. But when I got out, he gave me a package though. But you wouldn't come get me from jail. Come on, man, that's crazy.
I real quickly, I do want to say things will get worse, not better, unless there's some sort of intervention. We got to give up the illusion that things are getting better. Well, actually, in Athens, I actually think if we don't actually come with a political solution, we'll just get rid of black people. Like we're a third of the town now. They're about to close Athens Gardens.
I'm just saying, they seem like they pushing out.
Yeah, they're like we found a way to address poverty. It's not by jobs. It's not by unions. It's by getting rid of poor people. So make no mistake, things will not get better without some sort of political intervention. If we keep doing things the way they've been done, if we still want to keep all of our regular friendships, and rather than maybe tick off some of our friends, then it's just not it's not going to get better for the children when they become older. We'll just get rid of Black Athens. It'll go from 1/3 to, I don't know, in 20 years, it might be 15%. And in 30 years, who knows?